Welcome to Geeks Corner Reports. I'm Mr. Daps.
I'm Murray the Bellhop.
And today I guess it's exciting news.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Staggs has been announced as the new Chief Operating Officer for the Walt Disney Company. This has
Yes.
been a position that's been highly speculated about on who will get this position since, I guess, was it 5 years ago, where they
Mm-hmm.
switched the CFO and the COO places. So Jay Rasulo jumped over from where'd he jumped over? He jumped over actually from
From
Disney
Parks?
Parks. That's what it was. They
Yeah.
they switched the Disney Parks and Resorts chairman and the
Yeah.
CFO roles. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so that had Jay Rasulo jumping over to the CFO, moving I guess right down the hall, probably from Bob Iger somewhere,
Mm.
and then they moved Tom Staggs into the role of chairman of Parks and Resorts, and it was widely seen as a way to kind of test these two guys out to see who would end up kind of being the heir apparent of the Walt Disney Company's CEO position,
Mm-hmm.
which currently is held by Bob Iger, and
But
it's been an interesting 5 years. We've had a lot happen with the Walt Disney Company in the last 5 years. We've got Star
yes.
Wars, Marvel, um, Pixar
Muppets
was
even.
before that, Muppets, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right, and um, new lands, well, not new lands, but redoing of
Mm-hmm.
Disney California Adventure, new Fantasy Land, the announcement of Pandora Land, Avatar Land, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that thing's going to be called at
Revamp of
Disney.
Animal Kingdom, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, and then even the someday opening Shanghai
Mm-hmm.
Disney and the expansion of Hong Kong
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland. There's been a lot going on
Yeah.
when you start thinking about it in the last 5 years, and both of these men have played pretty important roles for both of these things. One from a financial aspect, and one from a more executive operational aspect, and now it appears that Tom Staggs, if they were making this a race, which Disney claims it was not, they say it was completely not a race. But
But maybe a competition in some
yeah,
form.
I kind of think,
Maybe.
well, and just to see who thrives, and or it might have
Mm-hmm.
even been something where it's like, we think this is the guy. Let's see how he does in another role, and they do that at all levels of management, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so today I woke up to a press release sitting in my email box that said that Tom Staggs was the new guy for COO. Iger said in that press release that Tom is an incredibly experienced, talented, and versatile executive who has led Parks and Resorts during a time of unprecedented growth and expansion, including the construction of Shanghai Disney Resort. His proven ability to lead a business as well as successful tenure as Disney's former CFO make him an ideal chief operating officer, expanding his portfolio into all of the company's businesses. And then Stagg said in this press release also that it's a privilege to step into this role, and I'm humbled and honored by the opportunity. I look forward to working more closely with Bob and the talented senior management team across the company to continue to build Disney's future through unparalleled creativity, innovative technology, and global expansion. Those are hard words to say. They're easier to
They're
write.
big words.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's the very basics of the
Yeah.
news. We know that Tom Staggs is a Midwestern guy. He came out of Minnesota, grew up there, and went to college there, I believe, as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then went and worked as a banker before moving to Disney. As originally it was part of the what was it called? He was. I forgot what he was, but it was planning and stuff like that. Here we go, manager of strategic planning. I was close. I just had it in the wrong part of my article. You'd think I only wrote this. And then in 1998, he was named the chief financial officer of the Walt Disney Company. And then in 2010, that's when they switched the positions
Mm-hmm.
between Jay Rasulo and Tom Staggs. So that's the basics, and this is where it gets more interesting for us because the basics lead to a lot of questions. One of them, we
Mm-hmm.
were looking at the corporate structure of Disney tonight and through the afternoon, and we realized there's really no president anymore at Disney, and we don't really have an answer for that one yet. We're going to have to ask around on that one. If
Which
we know,
the last one was
Bob
how
Iger,
long ago? Also.
2012.
So it's
Bob Iger was the last president, and
yeah,
he
and
hasn't been
was CEO at the
right.
same time
And then when he
somehow.
got chairman of the
Yeah.
board, he was no longer president.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that thing ran down. Um, But so now there's no president, but there is
Yeah.
a COO. And the other interesting part of this corporate triumvirate, can we call it that?
Sure.
Sure.
I don't know if it is, but
Jay Rasulo is working without contract. So
yes.
before we get into all the other cool stuff, the question has to be asked. One, does he stay?
This question. Yeah.
Does Jay Rasulo stick around? And two, for how long?
Wow.
Because Tom Staggs effectively, like, he's COO today. Like,
he got the contract. Yeah.
He's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah. And well, there's the speculation, and then there's what we actually know what's happening, and it is what you said. He's basically going. Maybe to coin like a lease term, it's like month to month or something.
Yeah.
It's not a.
Except he's got zero contract, so it's day to day.
Yeah, actually,
like,
he can not show up tomorrow.
Hey, not coming in tomorrow. I don't really like that meeting, so see ya. Yeah, I'm gonna go run MGM. I don't know.
So the speculation. And we got this from Variety mostly. At least I did. I don't know if there's some.
It's in a couple places.
Articles. Yeah,
yeah. I think LA Times might have talked about it too.
Yeah, that he may have been waiting for this announcement to see what would happen, and then choose something from there. It kind of seems like that because there's nothing else from Disney today that
unless he's using it as a bargaining chip,
and he could be.
I mean, I don't really see that being put anywhere, but he has worked with the company for a very long time, and so it could be that he wants to be still in I don't know,
and within reason, because he's worked there for a long time. He's done a lot of different things, a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So,
and that same could be said for Staggs, and we're just kind of really briefly on the iPad writing down a list of different things that have happened under his tenure, and we've talked about a few of those, but we thought we'd see how kind of talk about how successful each one has been. Like, what were his hits? What were his misses?
Our rankings? Or
yeah,
just
well, this
general?
I didn't really rank it, but it was just kind of analyze how it's gone. And so they switched roles 5 years ago, which is 2010. And the big first thing I remember him doing was the event for the opening of Star Tours, when they reopened Star Tours, and he got to fight Darth Vader. And
he was a Jedi.
Yeah, essentially. And I remember
it's hard to not like an executive that's a Jedi as well. That's
well, and then I also remember him taking pictures with Darth Vader and the Jedis afterwards. I stuck around longer than everybody else.
Yeah.
And he was just having so much fun taking those pictures. And I was like, I kind of like this guy. Like, I haven't met him yet. And I think I actually saw him at a window dedication ceremony actually a month or two before. So that was my first experience with him. But I do remember the feel of when he walked into the area, of how warm it was and how positive it was, and just how the cast members, some executives, they walk into an area and all the cast members kind of stand at attention and they're freaked out, and there's that stress level goes up. And I remember watching him walk into the area, and he was saying hi to people, and people seemed happy, and it really, like, he was putting people at ease, which I think is I think it's good for an executive to be able to do that, be respected, but also not freak the heck out of people.
I even remember at a D23 Expo, this is I forgot which one it was because it happens every other year, so it's hard to tell, but whichever one it was, that they did a Parks and Resorts presentation. He starred in a video where he did a lot of different roles within the parks. I mean, it was all comedy. It was a lot of just him.
Right, he was even a Dapper Dan in that one, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was supposed to be Tinkerbell. I'm sure it wasn't him because you don't want an executive flying on a high wire thing.
Only Tinkerbell can be Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just like that video because I think that showed a lot of what you're talking about. Like, it just seemed like he likes having fun, not just in the parks, but with the employees.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal for an executive to be doing and to even show.
Well, and it shows that he's really a part of the Disney magic, as opposed to being, kind of the guy behind the curtain or whatever. He's actually willing to get out there and be a part of it. I think he also did a day as a street sweeper also, and he did several of the jobs when he got started. And I've seen other executives. I think Matt Ouimet might have done that years and years ago. But I haven't seen every executive do that, and that was something that really stuck out for me, I guess you could say. And it's been fun to watch him because he just seems to have gotten more and more comfortable in that role. And at the same time, he hasn't gotten to a point where he feels like he has to be in the center of attention either. Even to the extent of last Wednesday night for the announcement of Disneyland's 60th Diamond Celebration, we really had no clue if he'd actually be there because, yes, it's a huge event, but at the same time, there's definitely been other people and characters or whatever allowed to shine and do these things as well. So I was pleased to have him there. I thought it was a good mix between the two of him and Steve Davison. But I really think that goes into his demeanor and how, as a leader, he's he's not over the top in any way, but he's competent, but he's also calm. And one of the things I was reading about is he just doesn't get into all the Hollywood glamour and all of that stuff.
I was reading that too. Like he hasn't gone to some award shows even, or
he hasn't been to any of them, I guess. And same with Bob Iger. And I just think both of them probably are more focused on the end product as opposed to all of the glitz and glamour that they can get along the way. And they're also, I think it says something about both men too, that they're focused more on the good of the company as opposed to the good of themselves, where they know they'll be taken care of if the company's taken care of. And so I think that's a very good thing for the Walt Disney Company as we move forward looking at this too.
So even with that, I think it seemed like, and this is just my opinion, but Iger has been someone, Staggs seems like someone in that way. Like this is not a stepping stool to get to something else. This is, they like the company. They want the company to do well.
Really, what would you step to after this though? Like,
I think
it's the biggest entertainment company in the world. And it's like, well, that's fantastic. But we're, what's that next level? There is no next level. Like it's you're there. Here it says in the Variety article, I don't get caught up in all the Hollywood glitz and glamour, Staggs said. He did play trumpet in band back in high school in Minnetonka, Minnesota. I was from a little bit further north, but we definitely visited Minnetonka once in a while. And he went to the University of Minnesota where he got his BS and his MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business, also very prestigious. And that's just fantastic. So after the DCA, really after the Star Tours opening, we went over to DCA, Disney California Adventure, and saw a preview of Alani, which I guess would also be like, it was already pretty far along by that point, but he was, the opening executive for that, I guess. And then also the opening of Cars Land, Buena Vista Street, all of that stuff.
World of Color.
World of Color was that 2012?
I think so. I know he was at the
he was.
Can you say opening or if it's a show?
Premiere.
Yeah,
world premiere.
Yeah.
So he's been around for so many of the things that really have kind of been like that next big surge of Disney magic exploding in the parks. And then you go over to Walt Disney World, and I'm sure I don't know how hands-on he was, but it seems pretty hands-on with New Fantasyland. And that's been, I think, a pretty big success. And then go ahead.
Well, there's something else that happened at Disney World that's been implemented since he's been
the MyMagic Plus. Okay. I was like, what else happened? And you got to experience that and you really liked it, right?
I know it's still controversial for whether or not it's a good system, but I thought it was great. I could see where it'd be hard for annual pass holders in Florida, but for being a vacation,
quite a few annual pass holder friends down there, and they love it. And I really don't see. Oh no! Like I see people piling up their boxes of MyMagic Plus wristbands, and
I've seen that too.
And I see a lot more positive today than I do negative. And part of this, I just think, is the nature of the Disney fan. There's Disney's such an odd entity where it's built on something very it's got a strong legacy of the past, and it's also incredibly innovative. So you have this historical corner, or this historical
nostalgic, really.
that's the foundation,
Yeah.
that really is a springboard for it to go and do all this new innovative stuff, which that was built off of. Walt Disney was one of the most innovative man ever.
Yeah.
And so we want to hold on to that old innovation, and sometimes it's hard to look at the new and let the new stuff happen. And so I always tell people when something new happens that everybody hates, give it 6 months and see, because I feel like most of the time after 6 months, everybody would hate it if you got rid of it. and I kind of
there's been cases where after 6 months they've gotten rid of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
But if after that 6 months, you're gonna know.
Yeah.
And it's gonna go either one way or the other. And usually, if it sticks around, it's a done deal. Like Disney is constantly asking opinions and looking at things, and like they pay attention to their fans. So MyMagic Plus financially has been a huge success. Looking at the numbers that just came out this last week, where they were ridiculously high.
In the million, or they're saying in the millions financially.
Was it billions? I thought
maybe billions.
Yeah, it was huge. And but just tons of money have come out of this, and it's been. I would guess they knew how successful it was going to be, but we didn't know how successful it was going to be. And so I think that's going to be, something that he's going to definitely be able to carry with him. In fact, it's been successful enough that I think it was Variety, but it might have been LA Times, said they're going to put it in all the other parks. And it wasn't just hey, it's going to Disneyland, which we've known, but they said all the other parks, which
makes
could
sense.
imply it's going to Paris. It could go to Tokyo, which I think of all the places, that seems like that's probably one of the highest need for something like that. Hong Kong, and then who knows, maybe when Shanghai opens, it'll open with those next year. And that'll be exciting. So also in Florida, under his watch, is the new Avatar land is being built, and we don't really know a ton about this yet. What we do know is that they've got 2 more movies in the sequel coming out. They've been delayed. And I'm curious to see how this might be the flop for Tom Staggs. Or maybe not the flop, but our definition of a flop as in it wasn't a home run.
Yeah. Well,
it's a ground rule double.
I think there's 2 possible ones out of everything. And this was even something I was reading in articles as well. Because Shanghai hasn't opened yet, and even that's been delayed. But at least Shanghai's delay is to really make it better. Like they learned some things from Hong Kong, and they wanted to implement what they've learned into Shanghai. So it's for the better, but it's still delayed, and that always has cost and whatever else I can't think of at the moment that is trouble.
Well, there's costs, there's labor relations, there's the politics of the area. I can't imagine the political wrangling or whatever you want to call it going on in Shanghai right now, just because they're going to want to return on their investment too.
Right. So so there's a lot of trouble with that. It's looking like it's going to be good, but that could be that.
And I think the announcement with the pirates and stuff is going to be, I think it's
getting
fun.
more and more exciting. So that's good.
I'm looking forward to it.
But I'm with you. Pandora or Avatar Land, whatever you want to call it. It's hard to say. I mean, there's things that I'm looking at with that are interesting to me that I could see staying, even if the next Avatar movies are not successes. That's plural. But it could very well just stay around for a few years, and they need to redo it, almost kind of a California Adventure feel thing.
And hopefully not. You hope everything succeeds, but you never know. Especially with the amount of money they're throwing at it. I just don't know what to think about it. I haven't seen the movie. We keep saying we're going to watch it, but I just haven't really been that motivated, and it's not on Netflix. I can
tell you the environment's beautiful in the movie, so that's where I think it's just going to be beautiful. It's going to be great to walk around in Animal Kingdom.
Into Animal Kingdom,
and
they're getting their water show too. That I'm spacing the name of at the moment. But,
something of River of Lights.
River of Lights.
Say something of Lights.
And
Light.
I had the Billy Joel song stuck in my head.
That's River of Dreams.
Yes, but I was like, it's not River of Dreams. It's River of something else. Can you imagine hearing that in Animal Kingdom?
Song though, but anyway.
So that'll probably be a hit on his part too. And
that one, because the World of Color, I feel like they can't go wrong.
I agree. I agree, and I feel like the new World of Color is gonna be even better. But but yeah, I just don't know what to think of the Avatar Land,
Yeah.
Pandora Land. I think it'll be great visually, and if it has really great attractions, maybe the movie won't matter. Like,
And that's what I'm wondering.
I
Because
just feel like there isn't a lot of energy or excitement for Avatar anymore, like there was when it came out.
I think even when they announced it, there wasn't a lot.
Yeah,
It was a
but
very
they might
interesting
have some
announcement.
great ideas that we don't know, and that's
Yeah.
always the hard part with things like this. Is you only get a tiny piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
and so we're trying to figure out what this huge area is going to be with just this little bit of information. And I feel like so often Disney has a really fantastic plan, and the danger always is if you speculate that it's going to be bad, you don't get something as good just because they're like, oh, everybody hates it already, and so it's prejudging and all that stuff.
And maybe to say, I mean, both of these things we were saying they could be flops. I think for us as fans, we're not thinking of it as like we're going to hate it. It's just more of like, is it going to help them financially?
Well,
overall,
is it going to
or-
help them financially? Is it going to really take people to another world? Is it going to excite fans?
Mhm.
And currently, yeah, it might take people to another world. Yeah, it might make some money, but I don't know. Like, I can't imagine going and buying Pandora ears or like a sweatshirt from Avatar Land. Like, that just doesn't really excite me. And I'm just not excited about it. And really, like, if you're going to have a whole new area, think of
Yeah.
Cars Land, the anticipation for that. Huge. New Fantasy Land. They had some really great lead up to that, and there was quite a bit of anticipation with that, and the new parade and all that stuff too, which I'm sure those kinds of things will happen also.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Is there anything else new? Walt Disney World. The other thing that really has been under his, since he's been chairman of Parks and Resorts, is the starting to retheme or reimagine the old imagined way of the studios. Getting rid of the Mickey hat and
backlot tours closed,
closing the backlot tours and whatever's announced for that. And
they
that'll
put
be
Frozen in. I don't know if that's
and so
count
that
that
will
as
be
a step.
interesting to see how that progresses. And I think the other interesting thing that's going to happen with all of this is currently he's doing both jobs. He's COO. I keep trying to say CFO, but he's not that. He's COO, and then he's also chairman of Disney Parks and Resorts.
Yep.
Who comes next?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, this is where we'd love to hear in the comments and tweet at us or whatever. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if George Kalogridis has enough experience. Like, he to me is the guy I like. Just, I liked seeing him in the parks here. I liked how he ran things.
And he's at Disney World now.
And he's running Walt Disney World now. His boss, Meg Crofton, who's been overseeing California's Disney parks, Florida's Disney parks, and then the Paris 2 parks. She's retiring.
Yeah.
And so that would be kind of the natural thing. There is no vice chairman of Disney Parks and Resorts. So, it'll be interesting to see who comes up next. There is it Tom Wolburn? Wolberg? I messed up his name, but he's over in running all of the Asia parks.
No, wait.
No, not that guy.
What do we figure out?
I'm forgetting whose name.
Yeah, there's a lot of executives.
Is that Bill Ernest?
Paris. He's Paris.
Oh, he's
Tom
Paris,
Wolberg.
and then Bill Ernest is the president and managing director
For
of
the
Asia
Asia
for Walt
parks,
Disney
yeah.
Parks and Resorts. And really, that seems like that's the equivalent of Meg Crofton's job, but overseas in that half of the world. And so maybe he's somebody
next.
that could be next, but we just don't see enough in the media to really know that much about him. We do need to research that more. But apparently there's a search underway, and I would expect them to fill this sooner rather than later.
Well, especially for Tom Staggs having to do 2 roles right now. And they're 2 huge roles.
And learn a new role.
So it's not. Yeah, it very much, because COO is going to be looking at a lot of facets of the company, not just parks. And so you want to have someone that's able to concentrate in that way. Yeah, so you never want to have these 2 jobs.
And here's
just
the thing:
maybe tip for life. Don't have 2 jobs.
Yeah, one
like
is
that.
really focused on one part of the business, and the other is looking at the entire company and really trying to run everything. And I think that's where he needs to be focused on starting to become more of that delegator that's overseeing a bunch of different businesses and overseeing all of that, including movies now, and television, which he's never had experience, I don't believe, in either of those. So that'll be an interesting thing to see how that plays out.
Maybe slightly as a CFO in terms of
right, but
budgets,
a different,
etc. But
different approach.
Yeah.
And so with Meg Crofton retiring, and it'll be interesting to see who takes that role, and then who fills in Meg Crofton's role. Like, that hasn't been announced either, but maybe part of that is because of knowing something was going to happen with this or whatever. The next question, I guess the last question we can ask for this edition of Geeks Corner Reports is, does this set him up as the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company?
Well, I know a lot of the articles, and I know Disney's trying to say it is not a certain thing.
Yeah.
We've seen Iger take the same steps, though.
Mm-hmm. He had a 5-year, basically, apprenticeship under Michael Eisner before the board.
As COO.
Yeah, and the board basically decided, you're the next guy. Eisner wasn't ready to step down yet, which, interestingly enough, have you guys been reading all of Eisner's comments? Like,
in these articles.
It's kind of interesting. He's very complimentary of Tom Staggs, and very overly happy to share about how much he liked him when he met him 25 years ago. And I kind of got the impression that that he's, maybe it was his reason, he knew that he was going to become the CEO 30 years or whatever after meeting this guy. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
Hindsight is 20.
Actually, it'd be interesting if you ever want to come and talk with us, Michael Eisner. We'd love to hear what you thought 25 years ago, and that'd be pretty cool. You could sit on the TARDIS, and it'd be great. Geeks Corner Reports with Michael
Some Disney
Eisner.
fans may have other opinions.
I think it'd be fascinating. I think it's a piece of history, and I think it'd be a very interesting interview. We should try for that. But who's next? Do you think it's Tom Staggs? Do you think we're going to have this out of the box surprise, somebody from completely different company, or is this going to be another surprise and Jay Rasulu is going to stick around and get the role somehow?
I think it's Staggs because of the trend that has been in place already.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, just with the exception of Eisner, what Disney has typically done is have someone come through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And Staggs has, I mean, just to a degree, but still he's kind of risen throughout the ranks.
He's been around 25 years. He counts.
So I think the Disney company likes someone that's been around with the company for a long time that wants to move through. So I feel like he is the heir apparent. Whether or not Disney's saying it right now, I feel like
and this could be 3 years to see if he can do the job too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bob Iger is an incredibly smart guy. I think he thinks things through pretty far. I'm sure you've read the story of when they're at the Hong Kong Disney opening, and Iger notices that there's no Disney characters from the last 10 years, and basically says we have to fix that. We have to get some new Disney characters people can love, and so they buy Pixar and they fix Disney animation, and we get to see some really good movies. And
actually, just to tap the word. Anyway,
Sure.
Iger, what he's done, I remember there was a announcement that I think he made it even, and it was a funny thing. It was actually about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the time, it's sort of this like, why? And even the deal that he made, because it was trading a sportscaster from ESPN for this character. But you look at now, he's one of the most popular characters in Disney California Adventure. He's over at Tokyo
it's
Disney
funny. You watch
Sea.
Instagram, and people they want to see the Mickey, they want to see the Goofy, and they want to see Oswald.
Yeah, but it's it's one of those like, what is he doing? Like, why would you go out of your way to grab that character back? But it worked.
But I'm also glad he brought Oswald back into the Disney family. I think Bob Iger thinks things through incredibly far ahead.
Yeah,
and I think he's very good at plotting a course and making things happen and seeing them through to the end. So I think this is something he's thought about and had planned, maybe even for 5 years. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody were to go, and maybe even Bob Iger writes his memoir someday, where it says, this was my guy. I knew he wasn't ready for the job, so we had to groom him for this job. This is how we did it. He did okay with that, or he did great with that. And so then we put him into this next test and this next role to let him do that. And that's how he got the job. And he really earned the job by going through these roles. I don't know if that's true or not. I just could speculate that I could kind of see it happening, just because he seems like such the right guy for the job. The thing that remains to be told at this point is, does he have that same level of vision of previous leadership at Disney? You know, Bob Iger has an insane amount of vision, and honestly, I'd hate to be Staggs. I don't want to be the guy that follows Bob Iger. I mean, Bob Iger, like, he's ridiculous.
Okay, well, and even though there is controversy, I think Eisner did a lot for the company.
Oh yeah,
you got. I mean,
Disney is Disney today because of Michael Eisner.
Yeah, we wouldn't even have Disney, I think, if Eisner hadn't stepped in. Yeah, so I think Eisner did a lot, and then you have Iger, and so really he has two shoes to fill.
Yeah,
that two pairs of shoes to fill that.
Might be really hard. And then you can go back historically too, and there's some other huge shoes to fill.
You got Walt Disney to fill.
Yeah, you're it's a very small list of people that have held that position, and but yeah, that's a really hard thing, and it'd be interesting to see. You know, Bob Iger has really brought some of the biggest franchises in the world into the Walt Disney Company, and the next guy has to execute on all of these. Like,
are there even any franchises left to buy though? That's
that are as big as, I guess,
Marvel, Lucasfilm.
Well, if he could pull the rest of Marvel back into the Marvel house, so get them back from Sony, get them back, you know, all of that kind of stuff, that would be a huge win for him. If he could also, I don't know what else is that big.
I would love to see Nintendo under the Disney brand.
Yeah,
that's just my personal opinion.
Nintendo would be good, and that would also fix their gaming issue. You know, I don't feel like Star Trek would really fit with Disney. No. Like, it could, but I don't see that being.
And you'd have some geeks' heads explode because both Star Wars and Star Trek would be under the same roof.
That already happened. The executive director for this Star Trek is the same executive director or executive producer, I'm sorry, for the next 3 Star Wars, this upcoming one happening. Which is kind of, it's not breaking news, but this is news, is J.J. Abrams will be the executive producer for the next 3 Star Wars that are coming out, including this upcoming one later this year that might be released early. We'll see. But I think he's got some incredibly big shoes to fill. He has to execute on all of these franchise, keep them moving forward. And then also really the question that's popping into my head is, a lot of Disney's appeal right now has been nostalgia. It's innovative nostalgia. And so they're doing a really good job right now of making sure Disneyland doesn't turn into a museum. You know, you've got all this stuff happening for the 60th that's brand new with new, you know, the projection technology and new shows and stuff. But, you know, they're going to have to take things to the next level next. You know, think of how far things have come since the 50th.
Well, here, I don't know. You look at Disney World and how much it really has changed over the few years. I mean, New Fantasyland is the most drastic change, but they have just a lot of smaller changes. And once Avatar Land gets built, that's only one of the other biggest changes that we know of that are coming in. For the most part, Disney World has been somewhat the same. For many years.
Well, that's right. I think things are going to have to change though. With, you know, you've got Universal coming up with all this stuff, and it seems to me, even if they don't change, or like even if there's not the huge competition, the way we watch TV is changing, the way we get on the internet is changing. You know, all of this stuff, gaming is changing. They've got these new, you know, 3D glasses, you know, everything, and so you're really going to have to take the whole theme park experience and reinvent it without destroying what you've got. And in some ways, that's going to fall on Staggs.
Yes.
And so that'll be an interesting to see how he does.
Even if he stays COO for a long time, that's under his jurisdiction as well.
Yeah. Well, and I really feel that you're going to see a lot more, or we won't see it, but there's going to be a lot more of Iger and Staggs working even closer together and making
Mhm.
decisions together. And yes, the buck stops with Iger, but I think he's going to be grooming Staggs for that role for the next 3 years.
Mhm.
At least that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for him.
There's actually one sad thing with all of this.
Only one
that I can think of at the moment.
I'm just being facetious.
But
Go ahead.
you could comment if you think there's other ones.
Okay.
I'm open. I just can only think of one. We're not going to see Tom Staggs at parks openings until if he's CEO, he could probably come back. But I don't think they're going to have him come as a COO.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
To a lot of these openings of attractions and shows and parks and etc. Which I really enjoyed him being there. Like what you were saying about his presence.
He's a good presence
at the parks. Yeah, it was always great seeing him. Even I mean, I talked about the D23 speeches or presentations. Even that, like you just tell he loved
we get
doing
a pleasant surprise, and for some strange reason, the COO starts showing up at all these events. Which maybe if he is the heir apparent, that would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
The closest thing I can think of was during the 50th. I think it was the May 5th event. I could be completely wrong on this. Wasn't both he and Michael Eisner at the thing?
Iger, but that was the time that I think they had announced before that
they had
Iger
just
was
announced,
going to take over, and so it made sense to have both of them there. But it was still
and
interesting.
The governor in his white suit.
There. Yes.
Yeah, that was great. So anyway,
do we have a video of that?
We do on a tape somewhere. We need to get it on YouTube. So that's what we've got for you on Tom Staggs. We went a little bit longer than we were planning on it. We'd love to hear what you think about Thomas Staggs being promoted to the chief operating officer of the Walt Disney Company. This really is big news, and it's fun to cover these kinds of things. If you liked Geeks Corner Reports, please let us know in the comments. Please let us know what you thought about it. And please share this and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That kind of tells us that you like us, and it makes us feel good or something. I don't know, but no, it does tell us which direction we should be doing things. So with all of that, I think we will bid you good night, and we look forward to hearing from you. And we hope that we will have something to report on with Geeks Corner Reports really soon. So we'll see you later.